Good morning, everybody. Semi-retired Bob here. If this is your first time on the channel, I want to say welcome. I'm awfully glad you're here. I talk about the carnivore diet and things associated with the carnivore diet. And today, we're going to talk about some of the basics. I know I've covered a lot of this on my channel before, but we're continually getting new people here, and I get questions, so I figure it's a good thing every once in a while to just go over some of the basics for all the new people that are here, and a little refresher course for those of us that may have forgotten some of the stuff or are having trouble can hopefully get some value out of this. So let's start off with the very basic question: what is the carnivore diet? The carnivore diet is eating animal products and things made from animal products. You know, everybody always thinks that it's, carnivore diet, that's just eating red meat. Well, that's what a lot of us land on. But, you know, you can have beef, chicken, pork, lamb, camel if you're in that part of the country, elk, bison, venison, whatever kind of meat you like. We'll talk about that just a little bit more after I get done saying things like don't forget seafood. You can have seafood. You know, eggs. Eggs are a great source. Cheese. Full fat cheese, that's a dairy product. We'll start there. There are a lot of people that are sensitive to dairy products. And what I suggest you do to get started is to go what your first thought said. Just beef, water, and salt. That's called the lion diet. I would suggest doing that anywhere from 30 to 90 days. And then slowly add back in foods that, one at a time to see if your body reacts to them. But if you want to slowly, if you want to start with just straight up carnivore, having your first meal being, smoked sausages and shrimp sauteed in butter, there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely carnivore. Now, you want to make sure when you're buying your smoked sausage that it's good, clean smoked sausage. Because a lot of the big smoked sausage brands put sugar in their smoked sausage. So you got to kind of watch out for that. Maybe do a chicken and shrimp dish or a beef and shrimp dish. You still have the sausage and shrimp, which I love, by the way. But you do have to be careful with what kind of sausage you're having and how much sugar's in it. Some of the cleanest sausages I've found still say less than 1 carb per serving, but they don't say 0. So you just have to make up your mind how many carbs you can live with. And while we're talking about carbs, the other question I get asked a lot is what's the difference between carnivore, ketovore, and keto? In general, the ketogenic diet is at about 20 carbs a day for your intake. The ketovore is about 10 carbs a day, and that's, predominantly meat, but you still throw in a few veg here and there because you like them, or, maybe a handful of berries or a handful of nuts, something else that you like. So that's the big difference between carnivore, keto, and ketovore. Another question that I get a lot is, well, what about this or that? The big one is dark chocolate. Everybody wants to talk about dark chocolate as if it's some magical, mystical thing. Oh, you're okay.
How are you today?
Pretty good.
Good.
How about yourself?
Good, thanks.
What about dark chocolate? Well, I think dark chocolate, as one of our favorite doctors would say, is less bad than some other chocolates, but it's still sugar. Now, you're an adult, you can eat what you want, but you have to decide if that's going to be worth it to you or not. Only you can make that decision. Well, that all sounds pretty good, Bob. How do I get started? There's two schools of thought on how to get started. You can do it the way I did it and just wake up the next morning and say, this is the way I'm going to eat now. It's perfectly safe, but let's say if you do it that way, the first couple of weeks you don't want to get very far away from a bathroom. So make sure you've got a couple of weeks where you don't have any great responsibilities that will carry you out away from more than a 30 or 45 second run to the bathroom, because your body's going to let you know it's not really happy with this new diet to start. The other way is to slowly ease into it. You start by cutting out all of the highly processed foods. Let's start with cereal. Breakfast cereal. Everybody knows breakfast cereal is good for you because it's fortified. It's got, 9 essential vitamins and minerals according to the package, or whatever the label says these days. Not only is there added sugar in it to make it taste good, most of the ingredients either break down into sugar or there's something else that's really bad for your body. So that's where I would start. Get rid of all the added sugars and all the highly processed foods. The real dangerous part about all those highly processed foods is they actually pay guys to do testing on this stuff to determine how palatable it is. And they pay lots of money every year to these guys who make it hyper palatable, which means your body loves to eat this stuff. It loves it so much, your hunger and satiety hormones don't react to it at all. So that's why, sometimes when you would sit down to a big bowl of whatever kind of cereal it is you like, you fill up a great big bowl full of it, you dump some milk on it, skim milk of course because you're trying to lose weight, and then you eat cereal. And then you've got a couple of inches of milk left in the bottom of the bowl. You'll think to yourself, wow, I don't really like to just drink milk, so I'm going to pour just a little more cereal in there to use up the rest of the milk. And then you pour some more cereal in there, eat all that, and there's still a little bit of milk left. So you think, I'm going to pour just a little bit more cereal in there. And that's when you shake the box just a little bit too hard, and a whole bunch of cereal comes out, and you shrug your shoulders, head over to the refrigerator, grab the milk bottle, and you pour a little more milk on it to make up for the cereal you just spilled. And before long, you have to stop because you just ate the whole box of cereal. And yet you still feel like you could have more. Well, that just shows the scientists did their job. Now getting back to the main subject on hand. Why'd you guys let me go off on that tangent like that? We're never going to get through all this if I keep getting sidetracked. Stop messing me up like that. After you've gotten rid of the processed foods and the sugar, I would suggest all in the same step, but if you want to wait a day or two, you can. Get rid of the seed oils. There's nothing good about seed oils. Canola oil, Crisco, safflower oil, grapeseed oil. Pecan oil. That sounds real healthy. None of that stuff is good for you. I would cook in butter, ghee, tallow, which is beef fat, bacon grease. Yes, you can have bacon and bacon grease on Carnivore with no restrictions. If you want to cook up and eat a pound of bacon a day, that's perfectly acceptable. But get rid of the seed oils. Nothing good ever came from a seed oil. And if you saw how these things were made, because it's not like juice. You know, at home, you can throw a couple of oranges on the juicer and squeeze it by hand, and you'll get some orange juice out of it. And you can semi-do the same thing with like olive oil and avocado oil. It takes a little more pressure, but it's still, those are better than seed oils, because you can, if you've got a strong enough grip, you can actually get some oil out of the olives and the avocados all by yourself. Or if you've got a really good press at the house. But it takes a chemical reaction in a factory to make all those other oils. So just get rid of all those. They're terrible for you. And now while you're trying to figure out what can I eat on the carnivore diet, what's a good food for me, well, I can't actually answer that because everybody's different. You know, you might do really well with chicken. Of course, with the skin on and maybe cooked in some kind of fat to up the fat content. But you may be perfectly okay with chicken. Other people After a while, they'll eat chicken. It's like, oh, man, I just don't feel very good. Well, don't eat chicken for a while. Try it for a while and see what works for you. Which is why I suggest after you've gotten rid of the processed foods and the sugars and the seed oils, now go ahead and get rid of all the grains. All those breads, not good for you. All that pasta, it's not good for you. And I can't think off the top of my head what all is made out of grains right now, but if it's got wheat or corn or rice or soybeans, don't eat anything made out of soy, period. Just throw all that crap away. But cut all the grains out. A real good place to start. I'm sure you've heard the term BBBE, which is beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Once you've cut your carbs down and all the bad foods out, I think everybody should, since I know the Lion diet's very restrictive. You just get beef, salt, and water, and coffee. Coffee so you don't kill other people. Yes, I admit it, I'm a coffee addict. You know, I don't drink coffee to rule the world or anything like that. I drink coffee so I remember to put on pants and form complete sentences. That's what coffee's for. But I drink that coffee black. If you are adding a bunch of, if you're a person that has to have sugar in your coffee, that's sugar. Get rid of it. I think to start with, some fake sweeteners are okay, realizing that someday you're probably going to have to give up those fake sweeteners because of what's called the cephalic phase response, which means that's when you take a drink of something sweet, even if there's no sugar in it, your body will react and start pumping out insulin to get ready for the sweet, the sugar that it thinks is coming. There's a lot of debate about that one, but I believe it's true. Even seeing some well-designed commercials can do that to you. I mean, have you ever watched, one of those commercials that you see on TV all the time for whatever food it is, the $5 Kill You box or whatever fast food companies. Oh, by the way, we passed the house back there a ways. I didn't turn up the other hill. I'm going to take, this is where I normally turn down that way to go around the block. But today, for my 1%, I'm going to go up that hill to the stop sign and then come back. At least that's what I'm going to try. This is another one of those really big hills. Still not quite as steep as the hill up onto the dam was yesterday. So let me see if I can get back on track here. I've been sort of off on another tangent. But yeah, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. If you start there and do that for somewhere between 45 and 90 days is what it's going to take for you to really notice the effects and feel the effects and, you know, really start to become fat adapted instead of sugar adapted. Then at that point, you can start adding all the other stuff back in to see what your body reacts to and what your body doesn't react to. Because the whole reason the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs challenge got started, besides having a catchy name, is those are the most common foods that a lot of people don't have reactions to. Now, I have reaction to egg white, so you might have to eat just the yolks. And that's perfectly okay. You know, make yourself up a big bowl of ground beef, which is what I eat a lot of. And then a minute or so before it's done, dump 3 or 4 egg yolks in on top of it. You're set. But it's really entirely up to you what you're going to eat. And the really confusing part that so many people talk about, well, how much fat and how much protein should I eat? That's a really big question. When you're starting off, I would start with a simple 1-to-1. Try to get half your calories from fat, half your calories from protein. Try that for 30 days. If you don't feel right, or you haven't seen any real results, go ahead and switch it up a little bit. Bump your fat up for 30 days. If you're still not seeing results, take the fat down, bump the protein up. There's that stop sign up on top of that hill. And you can tell it's almost October now, because this house is all decorated up with tombstones and ghosts and lights and things in their front yard. So just find something that's working for you now, and don't worry about the macros yet. I mean, there are so many people out there. You'll hear this doctor say one thing, another doctor say another thing, and this person over here that you really like says something else. What they never mention or don't realize is what I like to call the 10% stuff. Just figuring out what fat to protein ratio works for you is enough until you get to 90% of your goals. Then for that final 10%, you might have to pay a little closer attention to how many grams of this and how many grams of that and everything else. So, if you're just getting started, don't worry about all that crap. Just eat the meat, drink the water, add some salt. That's the next thing we need to talk about. You need to have electrolytes in your diet. Now, if you live in an area that still has a really good electrolyte content in its water, you don't need to worry about this. But if you're tired or sluggish or just not feeling quite right, after doing this for 30, 40, 60 days, whatever, if you're like, man, I'm losing weight, I've got a lot more energy, but it doesn't seem to last very long, and I just don't quite feel right, it's probably electrolytes. The first one is salt. Our bodies need salt. Now, of course, you've been told since the dawn of time that salt's bad for you. Well, first of all, Umbrella Girl salt is bad for you. If you look at the label on that Umbrella Girl package you have up in the cupboard right now, look at the second ingredient on the ingredient list. Dextrose. So they're adding sugar to your salt. So I use Redmond's Real Salt because that's what's locally sourced here in the United States, out in Utah. But get whatever salt they get in your area. Now, not sea salt. Our oceans are full of microplastics and other contaminants. And when they boil that seawater down to make sea salt, guess what's in that sea salt? You want a salt mine that hasn't been exposed to all the things that most of the planet's been exposed to. Like, there's a deep mine out in Utah where they mine the real salt. And you've been told how horrible salt is for you. There's the house again. I'm just going to walk up this way a little bit and back again because I'm not done talking. But they've said how bad salt is for you. And they're right. Besides table salt having sugar in it, when you're eating the standard American diet, it seems that all those carbohydrates, highly processed foods, seed oils, all those things that promote inflammation in your body, table salt makes it worse. But once you've removed all of the inflammatories from your body, the sugar, the highly processed food, the grains, and the seed oils, once you've removed all of that from your system, your body actually loves salt. That's why it tastes so good. So salt your meat to taste. And you know you've hit the right spot when you're eating your meat. If it tastes really good, you're okay. But if your body says, man, that's not really very salty, go ahead and add some salt. If you taste it and go, oh, that's a little bit too much salt, okay, now you know where your markers are at. Add just a little bit less next time. So it's kind of a fine line to walk, but there are several, besides salt, there are a couple of companies that I'm aware of, totally not sponsored, although if they wanted to sponsor me, I'd be happy to talk about their products more. But Keto Chow makes a thing called Daily Minerals, which you can add. And then there's another one out there called Element, LMNT, I think is what it is. And I hear really good things about that. I haven't actually tried that one yet. I'm planning on trying it after I run out of the Daily Minerals, which could be a while, because what they consider as a whole serving is a lot. And I found I didn't need that much. I only add, 4 or 5 drops to my first cup of coffee in the morning, a little bit more mixed in with my food when I have that, and that gets me to about a half a serving. Okay guys, I didn't quite cover everything today, so we'll probably pick this up tomorrow. If you want to watch the entire walking series for September challenge, it should pop up right here. Another video you haven't seen before should pop up right there. Remember to get out there and be 1% better today than you were yesterday. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.